Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be answering a question that one of you guys sent in. A girl called Emily asked me, what is a supermoon? So about a week ago from when this video probably went out, a bit late, sorry, there was a supermoon about a week ago. And she wants to know what a supermoon is. So I thought I'd just do a video and try and explain what it is. So let's start at the beginning. We know that the Earth is here and that the moon orbits around the Earth. Okay. Now, the moon orbits around the Earth roughly once every month, so that's like every 27 days. And during this time as it goes around us, we see all the different phases of the moon. We see full moon, half moon, crescent moon, all these different types. It's basically the size of the moon, it's how much light from the sun hits the side of the moon that we can see. And there's the new moon, which is where you can't see anything, where the sun is behind it, and so the side of the moon that we see is all in shadow. So the moon takes around a month to orbit the Earth, and we see all these different phases of it. Now, I said that the moon goes around the Earth, and we kind of instinctively think that it just goes around in a circle like this. But actually, it's not a perfect circle. So the Earth going around the Sun and all the other planets going around the Sun, they're never perfectly circular orbits. They're always slightly elongated, slightly squashed. So they're varying degrees. You know, comets, for example, are really elongated orbits around the Sun, whereas the planets are roughly circular, but they're not quite. So the moon, for example, orbits the Earth, but it's not quite in a circular orbit. I mean, it's very slightly flattened by a very small amount. But what this means is that sometimes in its orbit, the moon is closer to the Earth, than it is at other times. So if it's slightly flat, the Earth's at the centre, and we slightly flatten the orbit, at some points in the orbit it's going to be closer than other parts, but it's going to be further away. So at the points where the moon is closest to the Earth, it will appear much bigger. I mean, this is just really simple, as we know that something's closer to you, it appears bigger than if it's further away. So this happens with the moon. So when the moon is closer, it appears much bigger in the sky. I say much bigger. It's noticeable, but you know, it's not like huge. It doesn't take up the entire sky. But you can actually measure that it is actually larger. Now, when this happens, it appears much bigger. Also, when it's a full moon or a new moon, so full moon is when you can see the whole thing, a new moon is when it's completely in the shadow and you can't see it, basically. But when this stage of the moon, this phase of the moon, new moon or full moon, coincides with the moon being closest point in its orbit to the Earth, we call this a supermoon. So this is why, especially if it's a full moon, when you look up in the night sky when it's a supermoon, when it's really close to the Earth, it appears really big and bright in the sky. You kind of can look at it without knowing and go, hang on, that seems really large and bright tonight. You know, why it seems a bit strange. And it's just because it's much closer. That's just the reason. It's just much closer, so it appears much bigger. Now, other than, well, okay, so it happens around every 14 months as well, I should say. So if you missed the one that was last week, don't worry, you don't have to wait too long. I mean, it's only about a year or so time. Roughly, it happens every 14 months. So you don't have to wait too long for this to come around again. Now, apart from it just looking much bigger, because it's also closer, it has more of a sort of a gravitational pull, a gravitational strength on the Earth. And one of the things the moon does is it affects the tides. So when there's a supermoon, you actually get much higher tides as well. It's like a few inches at the very most, so it doesn't really have any sort of big effects or any detrimental effects on the Earth, but it does actually have an effect on the tide, and sort of raises part of the sea level and all the things like this. But there's not really anything bad that happens from the supermoon. I mean, some people kind of think that, you know, they can maybe relate it to some natural disasters and things like this, but it's unlikely. It probably doesn't have any effect on these things, really. So that's what a supermoon is. It's just that when the moon is closest in its orbit to the Earth and there's a new moon or a full moon at the same time, then we call it a supermoon. There's nothing particularly special about it. It just looks a bit bigger and brighter in the sky. Thank you very much for watching. Keep an eye out in 14 months' time for the next supermoon or so. Actually, I think there might be one sooner than that. I check it out, look on the internet. There's probably one a bit sooner than that, but roughly there will be 14 months or so. Check out the rest of my videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, so check that out. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.